My parents sold the house I had been paying for, and I found out when the new owner asked why I still had a key. 4 days later, a title agent sent me the sale documents. My name appeared on every page, so did my signature, but I had never seen those papers before. 6 years earlier, my parents were close to losing the house. My father had been unable to work for several months after an injury, and my mother's hours had been reduced. I was 25 and had just started earning decent money. The house was where I grew up. Every birthday, family dinner, and difficult conversation had happened there. Watching my parents lose it felt unbearable. We refinanced the mortgage, and my name was added to the loan and the deed. The arrangement was simple. I would make the mortgage payments. My parents would cover utilities and basic expenses. One day, the house would become mine. Nothing was informal. All three of us were legal owners. For 6 years, $1,640 left my account every month. I also paid the property taxes, replaced the broken water heater, repaired the roof, and helped renovate the kitchen. My parents often told people that I had saved the family home. For the first 3 years, I lived there with them. Then I got a better job across town and rented a small apartment closer to work. I still visited almost every weekend. Everything seemed normal until my mother called one afternoon and asked me to send her a photograph of my driver's license. She said the home insurance company needed updated identification from everyone listed on the property. I was busy, so I sent it without asking many questions. That request became important later. A few weeks after that, my parents started acting strange. My mother asked me not to visit one weekend because they were getting the floors cleaned. The next weekend, several boxes were stacked in the garage. She said she was donating old clothes and kitchen items. Then my father asked how long a bank transfer usually took to clear. When I asked why, he said he was helping a friend sell a car. Each answer made sense by itself. Together, they left me uncomfortable. One Friday morning, I received an automated email from the mortgage company. It said the loan had been paid in full and my automatic payment had been canceled. I stared at the screen for several minutes. There was still more than $120,000 left on that mortgage. I called my father. He sounded distracted and said the bank had probably made an error. He told me he would check it later. Then he ended the call. I called my mother. She didn't answer. I drove to the house before work the next morning. My key still opened the front door. But the living room furniture was different. The family photographs were gone. A gray couch sat where my mother's brown sofa had been. There were children's shoes beside the stairs. A woman walked into the hallway carrying a coffee cup. She froze when she saw me. Then she asked who I was and why I had a key to her house. My legs felt weak. She explained that she and her husband had purchased the property earlier that week. My parents had already moved out. She thought I was a relative who had forgotten to return a spare key. I stepped outside and called my father again. This time, he answered. I asked him one question. Did you sell the house? There was a long silence. Then he said, we were going to explain everything. That sentence hurt more than an admission. My parents had moved into a furnished rental almost 3 hours away. They had not shared the address with me. My father said the market was strong and they had received an offer they could not refuse. He said they needed money for retirement and were tired of worrying about repairs. I reminded him that I owned part of the property and had paid nearly every major expense. His response changed something between us. He said, it was our house before your name was added. My mother finally called later that evening. She spoke softly, as though that made the situation less severe. She said they had planned to give me some money after they purchased a smaller place. According to her, my mortgage payments had been my way of helping the family. I asked how they had sold a property without my approval. She became quiet. Then she said my father had handled the paperwork. The paperwork made everything worse. The title company emailed me the full file on Monday. The sales contract had been signed electronically from an email address that looked similar to mine. One letter was different. The phone number on the file was also almost mine, except the final 2 digits had been reversed. A copy of my driver's license was attached. The same photograph I had sent my mother. My signature appeared on the contract, the final deed, and several disclosure forms. Whoever copied it had used an old refinance document. I knew because my signature had changed over the years, and the copied version included a long line beneath my last name that I no longer used. The deed also contained a notary stamp. That meant someone had officially claimed they watched me sign it. I contacted an attorney that afternoon. He told me not to confront my parents again and not to sign anything else. He contacted the title company, the buyer's attorney, and the mortgage lender. Then he helped me file a police report. At first, I felt guilty about involving the police. They were still my parents, but I had paid more than $130,000 toward that house. They had taken my identification, copied my signature, and sold my legal interest without even sending me a message. And the forgery was only part of what they had planned. The sale had been in progress for nearly 3 months. My parents had toured smaller properties before asking for my license. They had already accepted an offer when my mother told me the floors were being cleaned. The boxes in the garage were not donations. They were packing. The notary turned out to be an old acquaintance of my father. His record stated that I had appeared before him on a Tuesday afternoon, but I had been at work during that exact time. My access card record showed when I entered the office, and I had attended a recorded meeting with 9 other employees. When investigators questioned the notary, his story fell apart. My father had signed my name. My mother had provided my identification. The notary had stamped the document because my father told him I had agreed to the sale. All 3 of them had decided that my consent was unnecessary. The house sold for enough to pay off the mortgage and leave approximately $143,000. My parents had already used most of that money as a deposit on a condo. My attorney moved quickly. The remaining funds were frozen, and a claim was opened with the title insurance company. The buyers were also victims. They had paid for the house, moved in with their 2 children, and had no idea there was a forged deed behind the sale. I could have fought to reverse the entire transaction, but that would have removed another family from a home they had purchased through the proper process. Instead, we negotiated a settlement. The title insurer paid my legal share of the equity and covered my attorney's costs. My parents had to return part of the sale money, which forced them to cancel the condo purchase. Once the payment cleared, I signed a corrected deed so the buyers could keep the house without any dispute over ownership. The criminal case continued separately. My father accepted responsibility in court and received probation, community service, and a restitution order. My mother entered a diversion program and had to repay part of the money. The notary lost his commission and faced additional penalties for validating a signature he never witnessed. My parents called me several times during the case. My father said I had ruined their retirement. My mother said they had expected me to understand why they did it. Neither of them seemed able to understand the part that damaged me most. It was not only the money. They had eaten dinner with me, asked about my job, and thanked me for paying the mortgage while secretly arranging to remove me from the home I had protected for 6 years. Every normal conversation from those final months felt different afterward. I bought a small 2-bedroom apartment with my settlement money. It is not as large as the house. The kitchen is narrow, and I can hear my upstairs neighbor walking around at night. But my name is the only name on the deed. My parents and I have had no contact for almost a year. I do not spend my days thinking about getting even. The court handled the consequences, and I kept the innocent buyers out of the damage my parents created. Sometimes I miss the people I thought my parents were, but I no longer confuse missing someone with giving them access to my life. They sold the house I had spent 6 years saving, but the final thing they lost was the son who kept showing up for them.